fresh from a nap, no football. I don't care. I'm still rocking it. We're still doing this. We're still doing this podcast because guess what? It's now college basketball season, baby. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another Detroit Pierce podcast. I'm super excited. You got college baseball, college basketball, NHL, NBA All-Star Game, and Final Thought, which I forgot to write down, so I'm just going to make it up on the spot. But we got a good podcast for you. Fresh off a nap, got bad hair. Look, my wife and I biked for 8 miles today. 8 miles. That's what you do when there's no football around. When there's no football, and you can't look at your wife and be like, hey, the Lions are playing. Or, but babe, how can I bike 8 miles if football? So she drags you and we go on an 8 mile bike ride. That's what you do on a non-football day. What'd you do on this Sunday? How did you celebrate other than watching Juwan Howard try to beat up a Wisconsin coach? What did you do? And speaking of college basketball, let's get into it. Let's just talk about college basketball because that's what I love. We're going to start it off with college basketball. The grand parlay. Let's just get out in front of it. It didn't hit. The first time it hit, I talked all this smack. I had all of my friends bet on it. I had a lot of people slide in my DMs, texting me about it, and it was embarrassing. It was a dead duck since the start. It was a dead duck at the very beginning. It was tough. It was tough. It was difficult. It was very difficult. But you know what? I did go 4-0 earlier in the day. So if you parlayed that, which I did, thank God, you would have been out even. But you know what? This is why you bet responsibly. And the thing is, and I said this right after, it's about not today, it's about tomorrow. We're trying to get hot for March. It's not March yet. When March 1st hits, that becomes a different slate, and that becomes we all become different people when it comes to college basketball. The grand parlay didn't hit, and that was tough. But I'm still figuring out, just like you are. Let's call a spade a spade. But out of all of the big major conferences, I think the most interesting conference championship, the most interesting conference championship standings to see who's going to win the conference is the Big Ten. I mean, right now we got a 3-way tie between Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And I think it's the most interesting out of all of them because I think when you go down to SEC, Auburn is fraudulent, but they're up a game, and I think they can cruise on home. Arizona has the Pac-12. Duke has the ACC. The Big Ten, Kansas has the Big 12 because, I mean, they've got 2 losses. They're two ahead of Texas Tech and of Baylor. I think the only one that might switch by the time by the end is Providence and Villanova because I think Providence is the worst. I think they're as big a fraud as Auburn is. I think they're going to be the first one out of the top 3 seeds to get eliminated. They're not that good. I think they slip up all the time and they just barely recover. So I think the Big Ten is the most interesting. Not because most of you are Big Ten fans, but it is the most interesting. 3-way tie between Purdue, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And honestly, there's going to be a game here March 1st, right when I start getting good at gambling. Purdue at Wisconsin, that could set a lot of the tone of what could happen. But the thing is, I think Wisconsin wins that game. I think Wisconsin's built for that game to beat Purdue at home. And I think that Illinois is going to be sitting in the driver's seat because earlier this year, Illinois beat Wisconsin. And Illinois is sitting there in the driver's seat with Ohio State at home. They get Michigan without Juwan Howard, and they get Penn State, and they get Iowa. That should be 4 wins. If you're Illinois, and all of a sudden you're winning the Big Ten, that's a crazy year. So I would think that overall, in all of the conferences, I think in all the major conferences, it's going to stay pretty much where it's at, except for maybe the Big East where Providence and Villanova will tie. And I think Illinois will win barely. I don't think Wisconsin can win because of that tiebreaker with Illinois. And I think Purdue. It's going to be hard for Purdue to go to Wisconsin and win. But I think Illinois is going to win the Big Ten. Be great. But talking about the Big Ten, Juwan Howard at Wisconsin, blowing up and fighting a coach. I tweeted out, should he be fired? It's interesting in my life because I have a lot of Michigan fans who tweet at me. Obviously, I'm Detroit Pierce, so I've got all these Michigan fans who are fun to mess with. But they're all on the same. It seems like they're all on the same page when it comes to Juwan Howard. Not a bad thing. He's okay. He might get suspended, but he shouldn't be fired. But then I talked to other Big Ten fans in other friend groups, and they're like, if he's not fired, I'd be shocked. It's very interesting sitting kind of in the middle of these two conversations, being like, so is he going to be fired or is he not? Is he suspended? Yeah, I guess he had to come. Yeah, I know you're right. You're right. He probably shouldn't punch another coach. It's kind of interesting sitting on this fence and trying to figure it out. And I don't know. I just personally, for me, like, I think firing a coach is pretty intense, but you can't punch another coach. I don't care what the circumstance is. I think at the very least, Juwan Howard should be suspended for the rest of the season. I think he should be suspended for the rest of the season at the very least. You can't punch another coach. That's crazy. You cannot do that. I understand, now these players want to fight for Juwan Howard, blah, 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 blah. And I watched the replay of it. I was at brunch with my wife, and I watched the replay. You know, the guy steals the ball. It's late night. You're trying. It's confusing. You can't punch another coach. I don't care what Wisconsin's doing. I don't care. I don't care if they hit another 3 in your face. You can't punch another coach. That's crazy that I'm even saying that. So, no, I think Juwan Howard should be suspended for the rest of the year. I think fired is very strong. But yes, I think that Juwan Howard should be fired for the rest of the season. But I had the funniest tweet because I tweeted out a poll: should Juwan Howard be fired? Scott Dillon, who's an avid fan of mine, I appreciate you, Scott, tweeted, I thought you were just talking about the team losing. I just watched the video. He should be fired for sure. That's kind of funny. He should have been fired for how bad this team is. No, but I think Juwan Howard, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. I'll be interested to see what Michigan does. But for right now, one of my favorite things to do is talk about the Final Four and where we're going to be. If the season were to end right now, who would be in the Final Four? And I think that for me, 3 teams are kind of stuck for me. They're stuck in my Final Four every single week until they prove me wrong. They are going to be in the Final Four. Gonzaga, Arizona, and Duke. I just placed a future on Duke. I have a futures on Duke, Arizona, and UConn. And because I love UConn, I think they do everything that encapsulates a good Final Four run. I messed that word up. A Final Four run where they have good guard play. They have a couple pros. I think Martin's a pro, and I think Sanogo's a pro. I think you need a big man that can rebound, and if the big man gets hurt, you need other people that can rebound, and I think they have that. And I think you have to have a good coach, and I think Hurley's a good coach. So I think UConn can definitely make a run. But back to the Final Four prediction. If the season were to end right now, I think Gonzaga, Arizona, and Duke are the most complete teams out of everybody in the nation. I think Auburn's fraudulent. I don't trust the SEC, so I don't like Kentucky. Purdue, you can convince me of Purdue, but I don't know. I don't think Matt Painter's a good enough coach to keep him in the Final Four. So I think for my 4th team, Illinois is hot right now. I know I root for Illinois. I know I'm an Illinois guy. I would put Illinois in the Final Four. I think Kofi Cockburn is the National Player of the Year, in my opinion. I think they've got the great guard play. I think Underwood's an underrated coach. Give me Illinois. Give me Gonzaga, Arizona, Duke, and Illinois for the Final Four if the season were to end right now. I think so. I really do. Oh, man. I shouldn't have said Illinois. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. All right, moving on. I got the LSU baseball t-shirt. I picked LSU for college baseball this season because there is a chance that the MLB doesn't happen, and I feel very good that it's not going to happen. So I had to pick a team for college baseball, and I watched all 3 games. LSU just absolutely destroyed Maine. It was great. I think they won 20-6 today. I can't remember. I took it. I'm waking up from a nap right now. 21-6, excuse me. Here are the reasons why I picked LSU. 1, I already had a plethora of LSU gear. That's a huge reason. Let's call it like it is. Okay, 1. 2. In the season of baseball, I want to say go Tigers. I feel like that's fair, right? 3. I just like LSU. I've always liked LSU. I think the fans are the nicest fans in the country. I think that the baseball stadium is fun. It looks like a fun baseball stadium. And they look like a fun baseball team. And they weren't the number 1 team. I didn't want to pick Vandy. I didn't want to pick, I don't know. I just didn't want to pick the number 1 team. I didn't want to pick Mississippi State or Texas. I wanted to pick a team that's like has a chance to make it to Omaha and has a chance to, I don't know, be fun. Proved it this weekend. But having college baseball back is so nice. There were some good games on this weekend that I enjoyed watching. I watched Mississippi State and Long Beach State. I did catch a little bit of Oklahoma State and Vandy, which was a ton of fun. I watched a little Arkansas, a little Woo Pig. Obviously, I watched all the LSU. I bought tickets to Arizona State next week. It's just nice to have baseball back. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy. It really does. It makes me feel nice and warm and fuzzy. And I don't know. I just think that's really nice. It's really nice to have it back. So, I don't know. Tell me who you think is going to win the national championship. Who's going to at least make it to Omaha? Give me one Omaha. Give me one team that's going to make it to Omaha. And don't look. And by the way, don't look now. Nebraska could make a run. Nebraska. I'm a Nebraska grad. They could make a run. All right. Switching sports, going to NHL. I know I haven't done European Minute, but I haven't watched soccer. I haven't been watching much. This is the time of the year where UEFA Champions League comes back and I start getting back into soccer. So I'll bring the European Minute back next week because Champions League is coming back. But NHL, hockey, Red Wings. Tough loss to Minnesota. Just got killed. At New York, big win on a shootout. Big win. Tough week, though. At home against Colorado. At home against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I always want to call them the Blue Jays. I always want to call the Maple Leafs the Blue Jays. It's just because I have a dumb brain. Weekend, rivalry week for the Red Wings. Rivalry week for the Red Wings. Big weekend. I want to convince myself that they can make a playoff run. I really do. I come on here every single week and I crunch the numbers. I'm like, they're only 8 points behind Boston. They get, I know that Boston has 2 games on them, but maybe we could make a run. Maybe we could do this. Maybe we could do that. I just don't see it. I just don't see them making a playoff run, and that's okay. What you need to be expecting is just to have fun this year and know that next year is going to happen, and next year we're going to make the playoffs. That's what I'm hanging my hat on, and that the rookies are looking good and the young players are looking good. Everybody, Bertuzzi, Larkin, they're young. Raymond looks great. Snyder looks great. These are the things that you need to just hang your hat on. The defense needs to improve a little bit, but that's what's important. But yeah, NBA All-Stars this week. I noticed something. I went to dinner with my cousin, and that'll be my final thought, to be honest with you. I've got a funny story. I went to dinner with my cousin, and she's got a little son, who I guess is like a 5th cousin. I don't really know how that works. But anyway, not the point. She's got a son, and he's 12 years old, and he did something I didn't know was possible anymore. He taped the dunk contest and the skills contest and the 3-point contest. I don't know about you, but I'm not interested in anything with it when it comes to an NBA All-Star Week. I'm not interested, but I think it's interesting to look at for the future because he's not watching college basketball, but he's watching NBA basketball, and he's watching all of the All-Star game. I just think that's fascinating, and I'm just curious. Did anybody else watch anything? Is anybody genuinely... He asked me who's going to win, LeBron or Durant. I didn't even know what he was talking about. Google it later. Turns out they did a draft. Does anybody watching and caring about the All-Star game other than crazy gamblers who are betting LeBron -6? Is anybody? Really? I'm just genuinely curious. I want somebody to tell me how much of the NBA All-Star Week they watched. I really do. I know that Cade Cunningham played. You're a bad Pistons fan because Cade Cunningham was playing. Who cares? I'm sure if he won this the 3 skills competition, I would say that was the most important metric in the world, but he didn't. So I don't know. I'm just curious about if you guys watched. All right, final thoughts. So I went to this restaurant. Humble brag, it was a nice steak restaurant. Okay, yeah, the podcast is doing well. And I ordered it medium rare, and it came back, and they just seared it. He forgot the first word of medium rare, and he just ordered it rare. I physically cannot do this, and I'm wondering if it's because I'm crazy or if you think that I should have. Okay, should I have sent it back? It was rare. I mean, it was rare. I mean, the thing was still had a heartbeat on it. It bothers me because it was really. I mean, I spent a pretty penny on something that I did not like. Bonus, I learned that I didn't like rare. There's a bonus. How about that? I didn't know because I never had it. I've always gotten medium rare and loved it. But, should I have sent it back? It's really bothered me. It really shouldn't. It's because I'm crazy. But should I have sent it back? I don't know. What's the price limit to sending it back? Like, if I was at an Outback Steakhouse, I'd be more inclined to send it back. Why is that? Why did I go to a fancy restaurant and say and not have him take it back? Why did I do that? I don't know. I'm a crazy person. That's what it is. 100%. I talk into a microphone once a week. Of course, for 15 to 16 minutes. Of course I'm crazy. All right, thank you guys so much. God bless. Go Detroit Sports and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you guys. I don't say this enough. Thank you so much for listening and interacting with all my stuff. It brings me so much joy. This is a passion project, pretty much, and I love doing it, and I love making you guys laugh. That's the whole reason of this, is just to make you guys laugh. So I hope I did, and I appreciate you for listening. Thank you.